Hey, welcome to episode 55. Yes, it's my Sammy Hagar episode of Scar Bears. I'm Chris DT Gordon. It is great to have you here with me today. And as you notice, I'm not wearing a sweater. It's a little warmer now. I'm actually wearing a nice shirt. This is my Pass on Perfection and Go for Greatness shirt. You can find this and other items at Chris DT Gordon's Tag and Pop store shop. Tag means the attitude of gratitude, and pop means pass on perfection and go for greatness. You can find that, my podcast channel, my YouTube channel, my speaking websites, and other such things at linktr.ee/Chris DT Gordon. And before I forget, Nate and Britton Barron, thanks as always for your post-production magic. If you want to reach out to them so they can do their work on your creative projects, reach out to them at Nate Barron. Well, today I am joined by a fellow scar bearer. Sometimes we talk with people who have mental or emotional scars, but she has those as well. But she definitely has a kindred spirit within me. With me, we're alike in the way that we have physical scars. Wow, words, sometimes they come out of my mouth correctly. I am joined by Lisa Kastner. Lisa, how are you today?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for having me, Chris. So
Oh,
fun to be here.
my absolute pleasure. I'm looking forward to talking with you. And so, as I said in the much fumbled intro, that we share a similarity physically because we are scarred. I obviously, my audience knows I am scarred in the upper half of my body and some of my lower half. But please tell us a story about how you have you struggled and come to accept yourself in your beautiful imperfection.
Well, when I was 9 years old, I had peritonitis, which is basically that's when your appendix bursts. And so my father rushed me to the hospital, and when I got to the hospital, they immediately took me into the ER. I was operated on by four doctors. I think their initials, their last name spelled CAPS, CAPS.
Okay.
One of those bizarre things that when you're a kid you come up with, because it's just like, oh well, that's kind of cool. And
My mind off the trauma that I'm experiencing right now.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. So I get on the operating table, and they think they put me under. It turned out that they didn't completely. I actually woke up during the
Oh.
surgery. Yeah, so that's fun. I actually do remember the operating room a little bit, and I remember someone going, "Oh my God, she's awake," and like just then knocking me back out.
Oh.
And then I literally died on the operating table.
Wow.
I think 15 minutes is you're totally dead. I never hit brain dead, so which obviously, or otherwise I wouldn't be here. So then they resuscitated me, and then I think about a week later, I woke up in the hospital. They had to open me up from like right below your rib cage to right above the pubic line, and I basically spent the summer in the hospital. They ended up having to do a follow-up surgery. It turned out they didn't get all of the infection. They found when they went back, they found an infection of like the size of a small grapefruit.
Oh.
Yeah, so they had to take that out. And then
Where was that at? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, but
no,
where
no,
was where was that
uh,
on your body?
somewhere in my abdomen. So like in this general area,
Okay.
and
So
they
just so like above your navel.
just yeah, like just
Okay.
above my navel. So when they basically flayed me in essence, because so the scarring, the way I keloid, my skin naturally keloids.
Mhm. And what is
So
that?
I
I'm sorry.
keloid is when you scar and it's really really thick.
Okay.
So I don't, like if I get a little scar, or if I get a cut, oftentimes it'll scar, no matter like the severity of it. Um, but so since this was, I mean, since they had basically flayed me, I think the combination of the the surgery and the keloid, it ended up being indented. So if I was like laying down, it would look like this.
Okay, so
Like
kind of like a part of my language, but a ditch.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
right. Like a ditch. And the scar itself was about that thick.
So about an
and
inch thick.
and then and then about that in length.
Okay, so
So
about that looks like about foot and a half, maybe a foot and a quarter.
yeah, my
Okay.
whole abdomen basically.
Okay, so
So
maybe at least close to a foot. All right.
yeah. Um Actually probably more than a foot. Uh so let me think about this. From here to here.
So just above your, just below your sternum, to
Yep.
you said you about where your jeans hit.
Yeah, well, just
Okay.
above my pubic line. Yeah.
Okay.
So it ended up being it took about a summer for it to heal.
Mhm.
And growing up, so you and I were talking a little bit before. I mean, the scarring was so severe, and I had a lot of other scars associated with it, like a drainage scarring and so
Mhm.
on. The kids were pretty brutal.
Mm.
Now,
Yeah.
I mean, kind of understandably, because it's so odd to see something like that. But it started with so to your psychological comment, like psychological scarring. When I went back to school, some kids spread a rumor that I had been in the hospital over the summer, which was true, but that I was contagious.
Oh.
So parents had gone to their kids and made a moratorium. They didn't want anybody near me.
Oh, geez.
So you know how kids, you get in line 2 by 2.
Mhm.
Well, no kid in my class was allowed to actually be my partner.
Did the teachers do anything to fight this
As
or to resolve this?
Yeah, as soon as the teachers realized, it took a couple days. As soon as the teachers realized what was going on, they sent a note home to all the parents, letting them know that yes, I had been in the hospital, but I was not contagious,
Mhm.
and that it was absolutely fine for the kids to be near me and play with me. Um, and then they also had a group, the equivalent of a town hall for the kids in the class to be told that I wasn't contagious and so on.
Wow.
So that was a tough. I don't remember what grade that is. What grade is that when you're like 9 going on 10?
That's usually fourth grade, generally.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah.
So fourth grade was a little crappy.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I went on to pretty much my entire schooling, middle school, elementary school, middle school, high school. I learned pretty fast to change in the bathroom, right? Because if anyone saw the scarring, it just immediately set off a whole bunch of anything from, mockery to isolation to, in some cases, fights. Like some
Mhm.
kids, I think they just thought I was some kind of freak. So they'd initiate a fight, which to this day doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, it reminds me of something like an episode of the X-Men cartoon that
mm,
someone who was so misguided and intellectually or emotionally just feels threatened by your horrible stomach mutation question mark.
I
I don't
I
know. It's just
guess
weird.
I don't know. I mean, maybe I was also an Uber nerd, so maybe the combination of me being, in like the nerd class and having this like physical variation, I guess, set some kids off. So,
Again,
uh,
as we said before, some people have struggles we don't see.
exactly.
Um,
Oh yeah, 100%.
yeah.
So, and I learned not like I couldn't wear my clothes tucked in because when I was younger. It was so indented, like you could see the indentation in my through the jeans, because the jeans kind of fit like that, like where the zipper is, if
Yep.
that
So
makes
they're
sense.
indented and kind of tucked in.
Yeah, exactly. So, so I knew I couldn't wear, my t-shirts tucked in. I learned to like live around it, I guess you could say.
Mhm.
So when I was 17, I think, my mom had amazing insurance, but her job was about to end. And it was like, okay, let's see if we could possibly have the scarring removed. So there was literally only one plastic surgeon listed in her medical insurance. And when we went to see him, he was like, okay, like, he took a ton of pictures and all this. And he literally wrote a 10-page letter to the insurance company advocating for them to cover it, because
Wow.
he'd never seen scarring so bad.
Well, where are you at? I'm sorry, I never asked.
Oh yeah, I at the time I lived in New Jersey.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
Wow. So in all
So
of New Jersey, which is on the East Coast and part of the Boswash megalopolis, there's only one plastic surgeon who would see you.
exactly.
Wow.
And by some miracle, the health insurance, the combination of his letter and all the pictures agreed to cover it,
Mm.
which was like a miracle, because it's considered like superficial surgery, because
Yes.
what he did was, the surgery, if a woman has a child, but she has to have a cesarean,
Yep.
and then to have that cesarean removed, it was that surgery
Okay.
that he leveraged, and normally that wouldn't be covered.
Mhm.
So yep, they agreed. And at the age of I think when I actually had the surgery, I think I was 17 going on 18.
Okay.
And it was like the first time in my life that I felt like, oh my, like almost normal, you
Mhm.
know. So which was amazing. Now I still do have scars, and they're still keloid, they're still thicker than normal, but
Yeah.
now they're along the pubic line.
Okay.
Um, and I have a little bit of the original scar left, because it was so long, it was so big, he couldn't remove all of it, but he could remove the majority of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
I'm sure the first time you went out of the hospital and you put on jeans, did you try tucking them in to see what would happen?
I was like, holy crap. Like it was amazing to me. Now, mind you, um, to that point about emotional scarring, I mean, because I'd been so ostracized from like, 9 to 17, because of the physical chain, scarring.
Mhm.
I just always thought, well, obviously I'm a freak, like I'm hideously ugly. And it took years and years and years to get over that. Um, where I would say even today, there are times when I know I'm still affected by that.
Mhm.
Now, but the good thing about all this is it forced me to self-accept. So even if, because it's one of those things, like I couldn't change it, right?
Mhm.
So I learned how to just, and I knew I wasn't a bad person.
Yes.
So, it was like, okay, so let me figure out, like, how do I, well, not how do I, but I just learned how to self-accept, and I learned how to, um, you know, if you want to be my friend and you like me for me, great. And if you don't, okay,
Yeah. That's
like,
such an important coping skill
mm,
that you develop there. And I wish this is why I wish we had a stronger push towards mental health in our country,
oh yeah.
because no one is perfect. There's not one person on even this planet who can say I'm above everyone else. We all have our issues. We all have our stigmas, our traumas, and being able to being able to accept that mental health is health, and sometimes
Mhm.
we need assistance in that arena, I think we would be much better off. We'd be much better people. I mean, if
Oh,
we had mental health education when you were growing up, I bet you wouldn't have had all those emotional scars with you.
well, I mean, it's interesting because I think there's so many cases where we're so heavily impacted, not just by our immediate society, like the people around us, but by TV and by film and by what we think is like perfect, right? And there is no such thing, to your point, as perfection.
Mhm.
That it's such a blessing when you have people in your life who know that and understand that, right? And reinforce that you are fantastic, right? And help you with to have a positive mental health, a positive outlook, because otherwise it can be absolutely painful, it can be terrifying, growing up, uh, for the smallest imperfection.
Yeah.
So
And I'm smiling not because of the story, but I'm smiling because you are an embodiment of one of my signature talks, Pass Imperfection, Go for Greatness. And you are doing that. And I absolutely love that you are living that credo, in your life. And so again, I wish you didn't have to go through that, but I feel, and maybe you can agree with me on this, Lisa, that it makes us so much stronger going forward in our other issues, that we just, we, like you said, we not fall upon, but we lean on that strength we had to develop to help us through other issues later in life.
oh, well, at first, thank you. That's a huge compliment. I really thank you for that. And 100%. I mean, I am actually thankful for that time because it taught me a lesson at a very young age that, focus on those things that you can control and not the things that you can't. And if you know that what you're doing is, the right thing, or you're doing it for the right reasons or for good reasons, then F them, like that's, as long as what your focus is on is your focus is for something positive, then what other people say or do or think, that's fine. They can have that, you know. Uh,
You can't be ice cream. You can't please everyone.
That's right. Oh, absolutely. And especially the more visible you are, right?
Mhm.
I mean, the more people who are aware of who you are and what you do, um, there's always going to be somebody, like I have like a weekly live podcast, or not podcast, but a live stream. It's on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. It streams live on all forums Wednesdays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And I have people who will, like, it's interactive. So folks can go ahead and, ask questions in the comments. And then myself and one of my editors, oh, I run a publishing house. We respond to these questions, right? And some of the questions are goofy as fill in the expletive.
Yeah.
you know I mean, people come on and you can tell they just kind of happened upon it on, like, say, Twitter or on YouTube, and they just decided they're going to ask really silly stuff. And some people even like, because it's recorded, right?
Mhm.
So there are people who'll check it out later in the week or months later, and they'll make comments like, well, why are you on my stream? Or like, who are you? And how dare you, be on my Twitter account? And I'm like, I don't know. So you absolutely cannot please everybody.
Yes. And I think that's another huge point, that we are on this planet to make it a positive impact. And it's not up to us to decide who accepts that message.
That's right. That's right.
All we can do is our best.
That's right. Absolutely.
So after your reconstructive surgery, where did you go next?
I mean, I was just like your regular kid. So I I graduated high school. I went to college for a little bit, and then I ended up dropping out. I went to Temple University at a time when they went through a massive strike.
Mhm.
And so all classes were canceled. So I decided to go and work full time. And there came a point when I was working full time that I was like, I want to do more than what I'm doing. And when I went to look at jobs that for the company I was working for that I was interested in, it turned out like every single one required a degree.
Mm.
So I went back to my dad and I just said, can I move back in? Because he had always said, if you want to go back to school, you can, move back in, because we didn't have any money. I grew up in Camden, New Jersey, which at the time was one of the most dangerous cities in America.
Oh, wow.
And we had like no money.
Mm.
So my dad's like, yep, come on back, move back in. And I basically juggled going to school and working full time, 3/4 to full time. And I decided that I would get my undergraduate, and then I got an MBA, and I also got an MFA in creative writing,
Oh, wow.
because I figured I didn't want anybody to ever say to me again, oh, you don't have, a degree, or you don't have X, then you're out, you're out of the running. You're not even going to be considered. Um, yeah. And now I am actually, so I run Running Wild Press, which is an independent publisher. You can look us up on runningwildpress.com. We publish great stories with great writing that don't fit neatly in a box.
Okay.
And we also have an imprint called Rise. And Rise, we publish great genre stories written by people of color and other underrepresented groups. We've had books named Best of 2019, Best of 2020. We've gotten in, several other books of acclaim. We actually just this month, we're publishing a memoir, Something is Better Than Nothing by Alicia DeLaury. And it's her experience of her husband going into the military. He comes back with PTSD. So it's their struggle with his PTSD. And then around the same time, her father, who had been an alcoholic, passes away. And it's about her dealing with that as well. So it's actually named a book of the month by BookBub. So definitely check it out. It's a great story. So
It sounds like it. And so how has your previous experience, in middle school and high school or elementary school, how does that affect you today? I know it doesn't physically, of course, but like as a publisher, as owner of a publishing company, how do those tools affect you, even say tomorrow when you go back to work, as this is a Sunday, we're recording this?
That's a great question. I think a lot of it goes back to, well, one, I read voraciously, so I was one of those kids that, I read everything. Everything was assigned. I read every genre you can think of. I read all kinds of books. So, and a lot of that, in all honesty, because I was isolated to a certain extent. I had a couple of very, very close friends, but I was not, out and about like a lot of other kids were. So that's definitely set it up so that I'm much more knowledgeable, I guess you could say, around story and the development of story and like what makes a great story, versus if I never had that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I think too, I really, I had to learn how to kind of go with my gut a lot. And, we started the press because I've been in publishing for like 20 years. I've been writing. My father had worked in journalism to a certain extent. So I grew up writing, more like journalism style copy. And because of that, I've known a lot of people in the writing world. And there came a point where I knew all these amazing, amazing writers And I'm like, oh my God, this story's fantastic. You got to send it out. And then I check in with them 6 months, a year later, and they come back and they're like, I couldn't get it published. And I was shocked. I'm like, what the hell? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? This is a great story. People would love this. And I found that thematically, every time this happened, when I asked, well, what was the feedback you got from the publication? It was typically like, well, this isn't quite fit what we publish, or this isn't quite like what we have in our catalog, or, with all the other stories that we're publishing in the magazine this month, isn't quite in the same space. And I thought, well, that's stupid. Like, it doesn't make any sense. People would love these. So my then boyfriend, now husband, was like, literally on our first date, he was like, well, why don't you just start your own press? And at the time I was like, for real? My husband's, for context, is a musician and a producer. And he started off in like the indie space. So to him, this was like a no-brainer, right? Like, well, if obviously there's a gap, then you fill it, So fast forward like 3 years, and we started the press, and the rest is history.
Now, when did you start publishing?
2016. So this is our 5th year.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. And so,
yeah.
What are some of your best sellers, so we can maybe check them out? And we want to check out all the books, but if we were to Google something, what would be something we would find from Running Wild Press?
So one bestseller is by Taylor Grant. It was an Amazon bestseller, which of course means it's gonna, like, the title's gonna go right out of my head. One of the best of 2019s was Dark Corners by Ruben Teehee Hazlett. And then, which is a fantastic short story collection. Another best of 2019 was Suzanne Sample's Frontal Matter Glue Gone Wild. It's about her experiences with brain cancer, believe it or not, which sounds like horrific, but it's actually incredibly funny. She has a really great dark sense of humor. And another one is Dwight Wilson. If you look up Dwight L. Wilson, so we're about to publish his 3rd short story collection called The Re-Remembered. 2 previous ones were The Kidnapped. Well, yeah, so start with The Kidnapped. And that's actually, it's a historic fiction. They're short stories that are linked, and they're all based on his heritage.
Yep, and I see that. I see The Resistors is another one.
Yep, exactly.
And it's got some modern psalms. Looks like a couple of different anthologies of those, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, Dwight is a pastor in the Quaker faith. Okay. So he self-published the Psalms. And then Taylor Grant's, the one that was then Amazon bestseller, and Dwight's had been also Amazon bestsellers. The Many Deaths of Cole Parker, that is a lot, it's like dark fiction.
Okay.
And it's absolutely phenomenal. I would definitely check that out.
Okay. Many Deaths of Cole Parker. I'm looking it up right now. And that's, yep. Taylor's on there. Your name's on. There's a publisher. Oh, I love the cover.
Yeah.
But I've been this kind of dates this episode, but I just finished watching WandaVision.
Oh, no way.
Yes.
And what'd you think?
For the most part, it was fantastic. I think I tried not to fall into the trap of fan speculation.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it, but I thought it was well done. The acting was phenomenal. Elizabeth Olsen needs to get an Emmy nod. I mean, she just knocked it out of the park. And Paul Bettany, wow, he gave Vision so much depth that we didn't see in the movies. but no, I just think that this cover reminds me of it because the first two episodes, of course, are in black and white. And then once in a while, you'll see a flash of red. That's
Oh.
very indicative. And
Mhm.
so seeing this cover reminds me of that.
Oh, cool. Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yes.
I will have to check it out.
Yes, yes, please do. I mean, I don't know if you're a Marvel fan or not. I'm not sure if you can tell by my poster up there of the Ninja Turtles and Deadpool. I'm a little bit. And usually I would be wearing if it were colder, I'd be wearing a Marvel themed sweater, which is my usual garb. But no, I think you should. But no, I really am so excited to hear how well your publishing, house is going. If someone, well, first of all, Lisa, how can someone get a hold of you if they want to check out your books or learn more about you personally?
Oh, sure. Just hit us up at runningwildpress.com. On Twitter, we're at runwildbooks or Lisa D. Kastner. On YouTube, you can search on Running Wild Press and you should find our channel. And on Facebook, we also have a page of Running Wild Press. And Instagram, we're running.wild.press.
Okay. So if someone were to search Running Wild Press or Run Wild Books, they would find you in some way.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Okay, excellent. All right. And then, so if someone wanted to take one nugget of wisdom from you today, Lisa, what would you tell them if they're saying struggling with their, maybe their appearance or how they felt about themselves because of that?
Beauty is it's so relative, and so much of it is more around um like just self-acceptance. And I think there is beauty in all scars, in all forms. And focus on those who accept you and who love you, and the rest of them, they can F off.
Sounds good. And so finally, my last question, Lisa, and this is a question my audience always loves to learn the answer to. What is your favorite dinosaur?
My favorite dinosaur. So, oh my gosh, and I looked him up too. It's actually still exists today. It's a form of hummingbird. And I just kind of love the fact that he's still around.
So what makes it a dinosaur?
I have no idea.
Okay, all right. You just type in smallest dinosaur, and I think you might be referring to the bee hummingbird.
Yes, thank you. Yeah. I looked him up and I was like, holy moly! I had no idea that there were dinosaurs that are still roaming the planet. I just thought that was awesome. So
that's pretty good. I have not had anyone answer bee hummingbird yet, so you are the first. So Lisa, thank you so much for joining me today. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
I love your message. And if you want to reach out to Lisa, you can find her at runningwildpress.com. And I'll put other links to her in the information below. If you want to see what I'm doing, you can find me at linktr.ee/Chris DT Gordon. You can check out the podcast, of course, as well as the YouTube channel, my speaking websites, my various social links. You can check out the Chris DT Gordon's Tag and Pop Shop, where you can find, among other things, my Pass on Perfection and Go for Greatness shirt. You can also find a Tag One sheet if you need a little reminder of how to get a little more gratitude into your life every day. And also, please subscribe, share, all those good things, because we want Lisa's story and others' stories shared so they can inspire and motivate others to just be their best person. All right, folks, thanks a lot for your time. Please have a great day, and remember to pass on perfection and go for greatness.